Greetings, peace, and many, many blessings, y'all. Today we are going to talk about something very sacred, potentially something very triggering. And I'm going to just answer the questions that I was asked on Instagram. But this is our fourth Coochie Talk. We are going to be talking about some disrespect to the womb. We're going to talk about scrape, rhymes with, what I'm saying? And the questions around that I feel like will carry us into a beautiful conversation. So, welcome or welcome back. I'm honored that you are here. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me right now. So that means a lot. I am Tanaya, or the Perspective Dealer, and I created the Coochie Talk so that women can have a safe space to hear about things that they might not discuss, or to even feel comfortable asking questions about things that they may not be willing to discuss, because I'll discuss it. I'll bring it forward. I'll create the space, you know? So the three questions we're going to talk about today is around SA, my perspective on SA, and then some things about my own womb that I've discovered through the SA, and then I had a question on hygiene and looks. So we're going to jump right in. Someone said that they would love to hear someone said they would love to hear my perspective on scrape. And so I'm referring to my laptop over here because I have a few notes of things that I wanted to make sure that I touched on. So that's what you'll see me looking at. My initial perspective is that it is a disrespect, right? No matter who is the person receiving it. It's a disrespect because the person's body is not honored. You understand? There is no consent. It's like you are taking advantage of a situation and in the most detrimental way to someone else's spirit, right? And then in my bravery and in my strength and in my learning and through my relationship with life, I had to ask myself a question, because this is something that has been my experience, right? Like, how was this happening for me? How was this happening for me? And that is such a question. I feel like that'll put somebody on a stick, like, or make someone raise a stick. Like, why would you ask me how this is happening for me when it feels like I'm a victim? And then still, the way the universe works, like the way God works, when you say this is the picture that you have of what happened, when you zoom out from it, you can start to see things from a clearer picture from the reality of it, and you can start to see how you needed it. And you can even ask yourself the questions like, in what way did this work to my benefit? Because I can feel all the ways that it don't feel like this is supposed to happen, right? But that's supposed to is a mind trick. So with situations like essays, scrapes, right, it will potentially make you want to push it away, right? Like when we don't want something, when something stinks, when something is not a part of who we want to be, or a part of our image, a part of our ego, a part of our soul, it's like, I'm going to push this away as if it didn't happen because this doesn't resonate with me. And when you do that, you kind of make the effects of it stronger, because you fall into that victim mentality of like needing to be saved and all that. And when I'm saying this again, I am saying it based on a question that I'm asked. Like, there would be a whole different Tanaya that's coming through if I'm speaking to somebody that is currently going and growing through this. They would have a lot more compassion. But I'm speaking from a logical standpoint at this time. I'm just going to give that disclaimer, child. But yeah, so when you pull things away from you and push things away from you, and make it seem like you're separate from something. And we are connected to every single thing in this world, every single thing in this realm, every single thing in this universe, right? So if you're trying to detach yourself from an event, how beneficial is that to your growth? And how does something, like, whatever, I'm going to skip past that. But essentially what I'm saying is that we know that God, source, universe wouldn't do anything to intentionally hurt us. So even that has some type of divine love in it. And I think that what it's asking for us to do is take away the shame from it, because it happened for us and not to us. Find the divine love, find the silver lining, and then, nurture the silver lining. So if it helps you find yourself, nurture that. If it helps you find your strength, find your voice. If it helps you start saying no, if it helps you set boundaries, if you understand, like, nurture that part, and forgive yourself, right? Because I feel like a lot of times a lot of times we place blame on ourselves for being in the wrong place, being in the wrong situation, dealing with the wrong people, all of those things. But even that gives us insight into, okay, what type of people do I want to be around? How would I, the questions of how am I learning from this? As hard as it was for me to even mention divine love being present in such a situation, because I'm thinking about my own situation, right? I'm speaking so discreetly because I'm on YouTube. I'm definitely going to post that trigger warning. So then the next question that someone asked me is, how did I let the SA trauma go? Whew. So, and just a quick way, I'm gonna actually share my full story and how I got over it and all the things that transpired on my Patreon. So make sure you go subscribe to the Patreon if you are interested in healing from a situation like that, because it's definitely not going to be in a gossip way. It'll be more like, how can I discover myself and find myself back by watching this woman's story and watching what she went through. You understand? Now, but essentially, someone took advantage of me. I was passed out. So asking me how I got over it. Me in the past, I would just bury stuff, just bury it down, bury it down, bury it down. And now that I'm even looking in retrospect, I started having panic attacks and stuff. Like it got really real for me, but I wasn't even aware of where that was coming from until I can look back now and be like, you know what? That's probably from not feeling safe, feeling like you didn't know anybody's intentions that was ever around you. Like it's like, yo, I'm like, this is me coming to this conclusion right here, right now, real live in this video, and it's just like it's still so much to learn. It's still so much to learn. It's still so much to learn. So I pushed it. I buried it down. The body found a way to make me deal with, not deal with, but the body came up with a way to help me process. And that process was panic and distrust of the whole world. So I went to therapy for my panic attacks, but I didn't even tie together that I was in therapy. You understand? Because we just saw me go through that moment in real life together right now. And therapy helped me a lot with breathing exercises and coming back into my body and knowing myself. And anything that we feel about the outside world is how we feel about ourselves on the inside. So that distrust was for me. I didn't trust myself. I didn't know my own motivations. You understand, like, what was it was just so much that I didn't know about me. And a part of letting go of the trauma was knowing myself and how I could have played a part in creating it, which is even crazy to say, right? It's really not crazy to say. There's a part of me that judges the insights because that part of me wants to latch on to being the victim and to resonating with other people who feel like a victim. When I really want all of us to take back our strength and find our power in what happened for us. So, like I said, I pushed it, I buried it down so I can go on about my life. And I didn't want to fight for it. And I didn't want to fight him. Like that whole going public, taking it to court, getting him arrested. I was just like, I don't got that fight in me. And I also think that would have made me continually relive the trauma. So I went to college, LOL. When I was in college, I started studying when I was in college, I studied psychology, but I also did a minor in criminal justice. And a part of what I just said was some criminal justice stuff, like the reason that victims may not go through with something. It's like when you're a woman and you are suing for that type of thing, or you're taking that type of stuff to trial, you get ostracized. Like I've seen it. They relive the trauma continually. The hospital was even traumatic. Like it's just whatever. So the way that I dealt with it within. And a part of that was the burying. And when things started to come out, I started to seek help from that. And I kind of went on follow-lalling about my life. Not really. We'll learn more about the details of all that happened on the Patreon, like I said, but I feel myself wanting to tap into that. Anyway, time goes on. I moved to Florida, and I had to, as you'll learn on the Patreon, a part of what happened is a pregnancy formed from the essay. And I didn't feel strong, brave, nothing enough in order to go through with that. So, and then I also felt a lot of shame with even doing that. I know that there is consequences when you're dealing with life forces, and a life force was, and then it wasn't. So I'm like, all right, let me honor that. I bought a candle, dressed it up. I would burn it. I would speak to the child. You understand? I called it my spirit baby. And I feel like that helped me too. I wrote not a sorry letter, but as much as I had to forgive myself, I was asking for forgiveness for the life that I decided not to go through it because of my own, I don't want to call it a weakness, but my decision to not do that. Again, like I said, I didn't feel strong enough to do that. And so I had to forgive myself. And then I started to ask for forgiveness through the child. And so writing, praying, writing and praying, writing and praying and lighting that candle. So then later on in Florida in life, I had not teamed up, but I connected with a priest or minister. Her name is Johannah. God bless her heart. I'm going to actually put her information so that y'all can follow her and see all the beautiful things that she does. But just speaking to her on that porch one day, we wound up speaking of this essay, and she was like, I want to give you a womb ceremony. So I learned what she was talking about the womb ceremony. There's a prayer that you repeat. Then she do something with something else, and she put it in your. When I say she do something with something else, what I'm describing is there is some esoteric, metaphysical beauty that is going on, right? It's otherworldly. It's an otherworldly experience for me. So said them prayers, reached up into the sky, got some solar energy for the sun, and put it in my womb. When I say I could feel her, I could feel the heat in it. I could feel her placing her hands on my womb to try to find it. And when she found it, I said, "Oh!" And I cried uncontrollably for like 10 minutes straight, 15 minutes straight, probably the rest of the day intermittently. You understand? Like it was just so much shedding. And she went so deep into my womb that I felt my SA being cleared. I felt SA from my ancestors being cleared. I felt it for my descendants and protection for that to not happen to them through me. So when I look at what happened for me and I got to see what I did for my bloodline, that helped me release the trauma from it because I know that I'm really doing the work. And not just for me, but for my ancestors and for my descendants. So Johannah does the womb ceremonies, the Chapel of Roses. I'm gonna go ahead and link that for you. So I'm not sure if there's a thing where I haven't seen her have it on a website or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure if you see this video and you follow her through this video and you contact her asking about a womb ceremony, just let her know that I sent you, child. And also, I would love to be able to give those same ceremonies to women. So it's a time for everything. There is a time for everything. But thank you, Johannah. Thank you, Johannah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for what you have done for me, for my ancestors, and for my descendants. I love you. All right. Then from the womb ceremony praises, we can go right into just talking about the coochie. So someone asked, did you ever experience being let me slow down. Did you ever experience being insecure about yours? The looks, the hygiene, and where did those judgments come from, essentially? So, what I will say is in February, when I was doing the Sacred Woman work, the first week, the 0 week, gateway 0 is the sacred womb. And in that gateway, you spend 21 days of prayer and detox and just all of that. And during that time, I was inspired to make a mirror to look at my coochie. And I was just like, well, I'm gonna just do it. So I done did that thing. I was looking down there. I was like, wow, like just looking at the colors, just looking at I was like, I love this. And before that, I don't think that I ever looked at her for that type of thing. I'm like, oh, I can look at her for beauty. I was always looking to see if something was wrong and never looking to look and praise. You understand? So I never really thought anything was off. But as I was writing down here, I didn't deem it as beautiful because I was looking at what I thought was beautiful based on what I was watching. We're going to keep going on with these things that rhyme, right? It rhymes with corn. Looking at stuff like that is really not healthy to your mindset of what sex is supposed to be like, or what your womb is supposed to be like, or just what body parts are looking like sometimes, because you don't know if it's augmented, whatever. And then even back to connecting this whole thing, when you're watching corn, you don't know if that's someone else's SA. And like imagine getting off to that, you feel me? Like it's just, anyway. So going back to the mirror, that's when I started to be like it's beautiful. But previously it was never like, oh, it's ugly or this. It was just like it wasn't a thought to connect it or to bring beauty into that space. Then when it comes to smells, my like most potent experience with a smell is like back in high school, I was dating somebody that was in college, and y'all kind of know how that story goes sometimes. They're getting busy out in college. So the high school girlfriend coming, I was in 12th. He was having his way at college, and then we was only doing like oral things together, and then still my pH got messed up because I'm a sensitive lady when it comes to anything energetically, and when I can pick up debris from some other relations, it's going to mess up my pH. And that helped me learn about pH. But BV in general is not fun. That is the only like pH imbalance that's not a STI or STD or whatever that is going to make you smell, and it's not going to be fun. And I noticed that because I've had the experience, I know what it smells like to try to cover it up. And there are a lot of women that it feels like are going through that, and they're covering it up with sweet smells, and then it just smells like funky sweet coochie. I just think that we should focus on eating fruits and vegetables, clearing out, focusing on the pH. If you are having a sex partner and you're constantly receiving pH things with him, let's go back to the drawing board and let's see how compatible y'all are. And what are you doing and what is he doing and why? You understand? Yeah, so that's it. And I think that when it comes to smells and sights and things that they may stem from, I think that corn has a big role in that. And then also the things that we grew up in at home, like say your parent judged you. The only thing my grew up with just my father. So the only thing my dad used to tell me about anything hygiene was just like make sure you wash your vitals being like your vital areas. And it's never really been a problem. But I think that because it's like, oh, just wash your vitals, it was never, this is a sacred space and do this and da da da. That's why beauty wasn't invited into. I'm so grateful for these questions. I hope and pray that somebody is able to learn something and find their strength in, what's been said and shared, and even to bring this video to a space of women and talk about some of the points that have been discussed here and what is your perspective on it. And I hope it helps you discover deeper parts of yourself. With love and intimacy and connection and joy and exuberance and vibrancy. I send all those words to your room and I wish you a good life.